Hi everyone, Grant K here for the Flame Premium Learning channel. In this video, we're going to go through the changes to the Action Media List in Flame Premium 2016. These changes were done in order to optimize your experience when working in Action, as well as allow new functionality to be added into the 3D compositor. If you would like to follow along, please click the link in the YouTube description to download the media. Alternatively, if you're watching the podcast version of this video, then type the link displayed in your web browser. Let's take a look at the action pipeline to set a context for these changes. When you feed any image into a media input node, the media is stored in the media list and is assigned an input number. You can consider the media list as a loading buffer or texture management area for any images to be used in Action. So this collection of images can then be used for a variety of tasks, including texturing 3D objects. But the media list is also the point in the action pipeline where you would perform media-based tasks to the images. For example, you would blur, color correct, or key an image prior to compositing the media in the 3D scene. You could also use a matchbox shader to further refine the image at the texture level before compositing in the 3D environment. But this happens after the media list in the action pipeline. The matchbox section will be covered in another video. If we focus specifically on the media list, previous versions of Flame Premium used a separate effects pipeline to apply the media-based tools. This meant that optimizations to the same tools in batch did not apply to the media list. So as of Flame Premium 2016, the old effects pipeline in the media list has been replaced with a matching batch processing pipeline. This new media-based pipeline benefits from all the GPU optimizations previously done in batch. In fact, there is no speed difference if you build the effects pipeline separately in batch or use the one supplied in Action. All it comes down to is if you want to visualize the nodes in batch or just use the media list in Action. And when it comes to the media-based effects in the media list, the tools will only be added to the effects pipeline when they're enabled. The underlying batch processing pipeline is also linear by design. So when you look at the media list, the pipeline runs from left to right. First, you can control the media's timings. Next, it can be keyed and then blurred, color corrected, and finally cropped. Using the downloaded media, build an action composite with two media inputs. The background should go into input 1 and the keyed subject into input 2. Ensure you are looking at the media list. Now let's spend some time with each of the media list components because the new processing pipeline has brought about some new changes as well as benefits with each process. So at the beginning of the pipeline, we have media timings. In previous versions of Flame Premium, if you wanted to lock to a specific frame, you would need to scrub to it and choose Front Lock from the pull-down menu. In the new media list, the frame lock functionality is now displayed as a column. If you wanted to lock to a specific frame, you can either click and drag the lock value to the frame you want, or you can click on the value and enter in the composite frame number to lock in a specific frame. As you can see, it is a functional slider, so you do not need to keep turning front lock on and off like previous versions. To disable the lock function, hold Ctrl-Alt and click on the value. The next option is slip. You can slip the front or matte separately, or you can hold Alt and slip the front and matte simultaneously. Ctrl-Alt will reset the slip as well as the other values in the media list to their default settings. Next, you have the modular keyer that functions the same as before. A double click will take you into the module, and you can key the input media. You can come out of the modular keyer, and whatever was done is fed back into the media list. As a reminder, holding Alt and clicking the MK symbol will mute the effect, and Ctrl-Alt will remove the effect. Now blurring has undergone a big change as a result of the batch processing pipeline in the media list. You can drag individual sliders, or you can hold Alt and drag the X and Y value of the blur. And finally, you can hold Shift and Alt, and this will allow you to blur both the front and matte at the same time. One thing to point out is that the blur value does not go into negative values anymore. In previous versions of Flame Premium, there used to be another column where you could toggle between box and Gaussian blurring. In Flame Premium 2016, this has been greatly enhanced, as you will see in a brief moment. Gaussian blurring is the default blur, but if you double-click in the blurring column for the background layer, you are taken into the same blurring tool that is available in Batch. You can now toggle between Gaussian and box blur, but you also have every other blur type available. For example, you could choose defocusing, directional, or radial blur. All of these tools are available to create the blur you want. As a reminder, you can press the 3 hotkey to see the action context while you set the blur. Now, a big point to remember. If you exit the blur tools, you will note that the quick blur value adjustments are not available. These quick adjustment sliders are only available when you use the Gaussian or box blurring. For the other blurring modes, these quick adjustment sliders are not accessible. Moving on, the color corrector and color warper are now separated because they have always been separate nodes in a batch pipeline. So you can do a combination of the color corrector and color warper on a media input, as opposed to just choosing one tool over the other. You still have the option to divide the front by the matte if required. But please do not forget that there are proper pre-multiplication settings in the surface menu of every image object. Coming back to the media list, the final component at the end of the pipeline is crop. These crop settings are now optimized and GPU accelerated for faster performance. As a reminder, you can adjust a single crop slider, or you can hold Alt and adjust them proportionately. The same rules apply when it comes to softness. So that is all the effects available in the batch processing pipeline inside the media list. However, there is still another big benefit of this redesigned pipeline. As you enable effects tools, they get added to the batch pipeline. And now all their animation channels also get added to the global animation editor. This was not the case in previous versions. So now you have the ability to drive object animation using components in the media list and vice versa. For example, a color correction could drive an object's position with an expression. I'm sure you can think of quite a few other examples. Just note that the one exception to the exposed animation channels is the modular keyer. To conclude this video, long-time Flame artists might notice that something is missing from the media list compared to older versions of Flame Premium. If you haven't already spotted it, the shadow softness value is no longer present. This is because the shadow softness is now part of the shadow node with shadow transparency and color. In conclusion, the media list underwent a major overhaul in Flame Premium 2016. It now uses a batch pipeline that is consistent to the main batch flow graph. And this has brought about significant improvements in tools and performance. Come back soon for more exciting videos on action in Flame Premium 2016. Comments, feedback, and suggestions are always welcome and appreciated. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe to the Flame Premium Learning channel for future videos.